This is VK2WI and VKE580 on 5425 kilohertz. It's time to take the relay of national amateur radio news from VK1WIA.
Yes, it's the national news for week commencing September 9, 2018. I'm Graham, VK4BB. Contrary to the belief by a couple that it is kosher to advertise gear for sale on ham radio channels, and before the auctioneer's hammer falls heavily, do I have a deal for you. Shortwave stations used by the BBC, up for sale. Babcock International Group's media services business is to be sold. Engineering defence contractor Babcock, which owns the United Kingdom's last remaining shortwave transmission station, Wolverton, and operates BBC shortwave and medium wave relay stations in Cyprus, on Ascension Island, Oman and Singapore, is selling its media operations. Get in quick. They may even have a set of steak knives. The airwave philatelist. She asked to see what I was doing, FT8DXing. She watched a few minutes whilst I demonstrated. After a few more minutes, she said, "So it's like stamp collecting with radios." Satisfied, she went back upstairs and left me in peace. Yes, it is like stamp collecting with radios. Airwave philatelists. I dig it. We'll take a look at a set of radio stamps later down the log when Bruce, VK3FFF, takes a look at stamp collecting amateurs in his edition of Worldwide Special Interest Group News this week.
This is Greg, VK2GPK, one of the directors of the WIA, with this week's edition of the WIA Board Comment. This week my focus will be on the WIA financial performance for this 2018 financial year. It should be noted that the financial year for the WIA is January through end of December. At the last WIA AGM last May, I stated that the budget changes implemented by the board in the last quarter of 2017 to address the unsustainable deficits of the WIA had been running for a couple of years, were planned to move the WA towards a neutral cash flow, i.e. neither profit or loss, around mid-year 2018. I'm pleased to report to the membership that this planned result has occurred. This is a significant turnaround and puts the WA in a position to start investing in improved, more time-efficient back-office systems and a better online presence. The first of these was the ticketing system, also known as a service management system, which has now been running successfully in pilot for a number of months. Our immediate focus, however, remains the pre-work we are doing for the tender anticipated to be released shortly by the ACMA for the ASFE examinations and qualifications framework. As at the end of July, our interim financial results show a moderate profit and loss surplus of $16,000 year to date. Whilst month-to-month results still fluctuate between small surpluses and deficits, the overall financial position of the organisation is much improved relative to the last two financial years. The balance sheet remains healthy with no substantive change from what was reported in the 2017 audited results at the May AGM. Please note that these are interim results only and will be subject to the audit process for finalisation early in 2019. September 22 this month marks the 100th anniversary of the first direct radio contact from England to Australia. A commemorative event to mark this occasion has been organised with over 600 people expected to attend. I'll be attending to represent the WIA. Also next week is the IARU Region 3 conference being held in Seoul in South Korea. The WIA is represented on the board of the IARU R3 and will be attending to represent the entire Australian amateur cohort at this important event. This is Greg, VK2GPK, on behalf of the WIA board.
This is VK2WI. We're pausing VK1WIA news for network identification. Would manual relay stations please identify? Thank you, relay stations. VK2WI provides this news bulletin on a range of frequencies from 160 metres through to 23 centimetres, along with relays via mini regional VHF and UHF repeaters. We thank the operators of these systems for their time and effort. This is VK2WI and VKE580 on 5425 kilohertz. We Now return to VK1WIA National News.
International news with thanks to IARU, RSGB, SARL, Southgate Amateur Radio Club, ARRL, Amateur Radio Newsline, RAC, NZART and the worldwide sources of the WIA. I'm Jason, VK2LAW. News from India. Radio Ham Victor Uniform 3, Kilo Bravo November in flood rescue mission. Matravumi reports when the floods hit the state of Kerala, many ham radio operators assisted the State Disaster Management Authority in rescue and relief operations. The newspaper says among them was Sri Murugan, Victor Uniform 3, Kilo Bravo November, who took up the role of a messenger. Tied to a wheelchair with his ham radio, he dedicated his time to communicate the messages to the rescue team from his home. He helped in the rescue of many people from floods and provision of food to flood-hit areas. Sometimes his ham radio was the medium for communication to District Collector and RDO. When the deluge hit the state, he was busy sending messages to the rescue team for 6 days without rest. He received the messages from many flood-hit areas through his ham radio community and transferred the same to the concerned authorities. Ham radio was the only medium of communication in flood-hit districts. From Malta, the Malta Communications Authority, MCA, is planning to introduce new amateur radio regulations, but the proposal appears to ban use of popular amateur satellite service allocations. A consultation on the proposed changes were held earlier this year, but the final outcome has not been yet announced. The Malta Amateur Radio League, MARL, says most of the proposed changes had been recommended by MARL over the last years. The MARL have been successful in getting the regulator MCA to agree to a lifetime licence and also HAREC capability. It is also understood the MARL are trying to get an entry-level licence, ELL, at some point in the future. There are some apparent anomalies in the proposed regulations, however. 29.3 to 29.51 megahertz is being restricted to satellite downlink only. 435 to 438 megahertz is one of the most popular amateur satellite allocations, but the regulations say satellite use in Malta is not permitted. 2400 to 2450 megahertz, also an ITU satellite allocation, but regulations appear not to permit it in Malta. News from Brazil. They get 60 metres and other new bands in 90 days and more. Anatel, the Brazilian telecoms regulator, has produced an updated band plan effective in 90 days, which releases 60 metres to their amateurs. This is a WRC 15 secondary allocation, 5351.5 to 5366.5 kilohertz, with 25 watts EIRP for Class A operators. In addition, they've been granted another two new bands, 135 kilohertz, 1 watt EIRP, and 472 kilohertz at 5 watts EIRP. Paul Gaskell, Golf 4 Mike Whiskey Oscar, editor of the 5 MHz newsletter, says, wait, there's more. The 160-metre band in Brazil has been expanded from 1850 kHz, making it now 1.8 to 2 MHz, and the 80-metre band now becomes 3.5 to 4 MHz, previously 3.8 MHz. The new frequencies are expected to come into operation in the week beginning Monday, 26 November 2018. News from the United States. Howard E. Mickle, Whiskey Bravo 2, India Tango X-Ray, is now new ARRL Chief Executive Officer. The ARRL Board of Directors has elected Whiskey Bravo 2, India Tango X-Ray, to be the ARRL's new Chief Executive Officer. He will start on October 15. Mickle is currently Chief Technology Officer of UB Tech Education and Senior Vice President of UB Tech Robotics, a $5 billion Shenzhen, China, artificial intelligence and robotics company. As the Chief Technology Officer at UB Tech Education, Mickle helped build this company from a startup in China to $100 million in valuation. I have amateur radio to thank for starting me on a very successful career, and I'm excited about the opportunity to further ARRL's goals as CEO. Leading the league will allow me to give back to a great community and provide a similar opportunity for future generations, Mickle said. I've been a licensed ham for 50 years, and I've seen many changes in the hobby. One of my top priorities as CEO will be to develop new products and services so all hams, whatever their licence class or interest, find value in league membership. WV2ITX added. New director for YASME Foundation. The YASME Foundation has announced the election of Marty Wall, November 6, Victor, India, as the newest foundation director. The YASME Foundation is a not-for-profit corporation organised to support scientific and educational projects related to amateur radio, including DXing and the introduction and promotion of amateur radio in developing countries. See yasme.org for more information on their work. Small rescue, big heart. Our last international story is another tale of a ham's involvement in a rescue operation, but this one was very different, as we hear from the editor of Amateur Radio Newsline, Karen E. Murray, Kilo Delta 2 Golf Uniform Tango.
On a recent broadcast of To Tell the Truth, an American TV quiz show, Rick Gruber, KD7NHM of Phoenix, Arizona, told the truth and a story. It's a story of a very special rescue that happened 4 years ago when he spotted a drowning victim in a swimming pool he had come to repair. At first, there was frantic struggling and splashing, but then it stopped.
I walked over to him and I could see that he just had no movement at all. So I reached over with the pipe and I pulled him closer to the edge of the pool and I brought him out of the pool and laid him on the ground. And I thought, oh, poor guy. I said, it hasn't been that long. It's only been like a minute or so. I wonder if I could give him CPR.
Rick had saved a tiny ground squirrel, now limp and unconscious. Draping him over a PVC pipe, Rick put his CPR and first aid training to use and began capturing it on video.
And so I just started doing little compressions on the sides of his ribs with my fingers. And eventually, after like maybe 30, 40 seconds or so, I saw a little bit of water come out of his mouth, like he spit it up and like almost hiccuped. And so I kept doing it. I thought, wow, it's actually working on him.
As the squirrel came to, Rick stayed by his side.
And so I just tried to, talk to him real nice and comfort him and keep him as calm as I could to show him it wasn't a threat to him until he was fully recovered.
An hour later, the squirrel had revived completely and scampered off. Once the video hit YouTube, this selfless act went viral, grabbing the attention of several network TV shows. This year it landed Rick on TV's To Tell the Truth on August 12th. Meanwhile, Rick has been receiving hundreds and hundreds of emails thanking him for his life-saving kindness. So what does this have to do with amateur radio? Well, Rick has been a ham since 2001 and enjoys 2 meters, DMR, DXing, and climbing the local mountaintops to call QRZ. And thanks to that little squirrel, he's now got some company on those outdoor trips.
One of the best things that's come out of it is because of that squirrel video is how I met my wife.
A woman in England, moved by the video, became his Facebook friend, then his real-life friend, and eventually his life partner. Her father, it turns out, had been a ham radio operator too. The squirrel, however, did score an award for most QSL, says Rick.
Who went on to say he'd made more QSOs from Facebook and from people messaging from around the world on Facebook because of the squirrel video than anything on ham radio. For WIA National News in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
This is VK2WI. We're pausing VK1WIA news for network identification. Would manual relay stations please identify? Thank you, relay stations. VK2WI is located in the northwest of Sydney at Dural. The site was established as a home for VK2WI in 1955 and is now the centre of operations for Amateur Radio New South Wales. This is VK2WI on a range of frequencies and VKE580 on 5425 kHz. We now return to VK1WIA National News.
Ham Radio Operational News, the contact sport. I'm Felix, VK4FUQ. We'll start this week with news of a party, not so much a contest, but an on-air QSO party next Saturday. With more, here is Clive.
Hello everyone, this is Clive, VK6CSW, reminding RAOTC members that the Radio Amateurs Old Timers Club of Australia is holding its annual on-air QSO party on Saturday, September the 15th for 2 hours from 06 to 08 UTC, that is 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. Central, and 2 to 4 p.m. Western Standard Time. The party will be held on 40 and 20 metres only, and modes are CW, SSB and AM. Everyone, RAOTC members and non-members alike, is invited. The idea is to make as many contacts as possible, especially with members of the RAOTC. Each contact scores 1 point, and if your radio is 25 years old or more, you get a bonus 25 points. Certificates will be awarded to the scorer with the highest total contacts, the highest scorer using an old rig, and the highest scorer on each mode in each hour. Logs should be submitted by email to raotc@raotc.org.au or by post to the Secretary, RAOTC PO Box 107, Mentone, Victoria 3194. Once again, the RAOTC on-air QSO party is on Saturday, September the 15th, between 06 and 08 UTC. For full details, please visit the RAOTC website at www.raotc.org.au.
Thanks, Clive. Now just to have a look through the DX window, a couple of contests coming up on our grey line. October 6, worldwide Oceania DX contest. October 11-12, worldwide Silver Call Ale. Not so much a contest but an exercise. Through the DX window, Australia VI. 100th anniversary of the first radio contact between Australia and the United Kingdom. This will be celebrated in September. On this occasion there will be special call signs for each of our call areas. As an example, 0 through 9. So using the symbol known as octothorpe, number or hash, more commonly these days called the hashtag, we have VI hash Marconi, where the hashtag is the state or territory during the month of September. The Hornsby District's Amateur Radio Club will additionally bring VK100 Marconi on the air. More information about this activity and related awards can be found on www.wia.org.au. Great Britain G. Special event station GB0FS on Flying Scotsman 15 September 2018. Bury Radio Society will be holding a special event station from a moving train carriage being pulled by the Flying Scotsman. This on Saturday, September the 15th. Vietnam 3W9. JSEC SP5APW will be active as 3W9JK/P from Cham Island, AS162, from September the 15th to the 22nd, and as 3W9JK from Ho An City in Quang Nam Province from September 22nd to the 27th. Activity will be on 26 metres using SSB. QSL via his home call sign, SP5APW via the Bureau. Mauritius 3B8. Hands PA3HGT as QRV as 3B8/PA3HGT from September 4 to 24 while on vacation there. Activity will be on 40, 20 and 10 metres using mostly SSB with a little CW in digital modes. QSL home call PA3HGT. Bhutan A5. Zoro JH1HAT and Champ E21EIC are QRV as A5A. September 4 to 14. The main purpose of this trip is to meet with Foreign Ministry officials to discuss progress on a youth development project. Activity will be on 40 to 10 metres using CWSSB and FT8. QSL via JH1HAT, Chile, CE. Members of the Discolo DX group will be QRV as XR208A, XR208B, XR208C and XR208D during September to celebrate the 208th anniversary of the first governor of Chile as an autonomous republic. Activity will be on the HF bands using SSB, PSK31 and FT8. QSL via Bureau. England, G. Members of the Polyfract and District Amateur Radio Society are now active as GB250CC until September 28th to celebrate the 250th anniversary of Captain Cook's first voyage of discovery to the Pacific, spanning the years 1768 to 1771. Captain Cook sailed out of Plymouth on August the 25th, 1768, on the ship called the Endeavour. Other activations may be possible over the next 3 years to coincide with other key moments of the voyage. QSL by the Bureau to GB250CC. For VK1WIA National News, I'm Felix, VK4FUQ Inningham.
We take a look now at wireless weather and Media Watch. 159 years ago, a geomagnetic megastorm. September 2, 1859, a powerful CME rocked Earth's magnetic field, causing a geomagnetic storm that set fire to Victorian-era telegraph offices and sparked auroras as far south as Mexico and Cuba. Now known as the Carrington event, that megastorm 159 years ago is a touchstone of modern extreme space weather research. What are the odds it could happen again? You can find out on spaceweather.com. And History Makers Podcast, Wireless Communications. It's Media Watch. Dr. Lucy Rogers, Mike 6CME, is joined by comedians Beck Hill and Harriet Brain for the History Makers Podcast, exploring modern technology and the people throughout history who've made it all possible. In episode 1, the trio discusses whether wireless communication is our salvation or damnation. Dr. Lucy, M6CME, explains how hi-fi works. Robot Harriet uses her data banks to bring some makers to life. And Beck tells us why we should have never moved on from plastic cups and a piece of string. So set your ears to receive and your mind to blow on for History Makers Episode 1. You'll find the link when you read the text edition on wia.org.au.
This is VK2WI. We're pausing VK1WIA news for network identification. Would manual relay stations please identify? Thank you, relay stations. A bulletin of news compiled by Amateur Radio New South Wales follows this bulletin from VK1WIA. VK2WI News has coverage throughout Southeast Australia, and clubs, groups and individuals are invited to contribute content by email to news@arnsw.org.au. This is VK2WI on a range of frequencies and VKE 580 on 5425 kHz. We now return to VK1WIA National News.
Hello, I'm Bruce, VK3FFF from sunny Bendigo. Worldwide Special Interest Group News, Dits and Dars. Morse code's vanquished competitor, the dial telegraph. The IEEE Spectrum website has a fascinating article by Alison Marsh about the early needle telegraphs. She writes, "Recently, I learned about the needle telegraph. On both the sending and receiving end, the needle or needles would simply point to the desired letter. A user-friendly telegraph system provided the user knew how to read. The first needle telegraph was patented by William Cooke and Charles Wheatstone in Britain in 1837. The design used a set of magnetic needles arranged in a row with letters of the alphabet arranged above and below them in a diamond grid pattern. Each needle could point left, right, or neutral. To indicate a letter, two needles would point so as to outline a path to that letter. The sending operator controlled the direction of the needles by pressing buttons that closed the circuits for the desired letter combination. Operators needed minimal training to use the system, which their employers appreciated, but the system was otherwise costly to operate because it required a wire for each needle plus an additional return wire that completed the circuit. Maintaining multiple wires proved expensive, and many British railroads adopted a version that used just one needle and two wires. A single needle system, however, required that operators learn a code to send and receive signals. Gone was the ease of simply reading letters. You can read the rest of Alison's fascinating article at the link on this week's text edition of WIA National News. And that, if you're not subscribed to our podcast, is available on wia.org.au, along with the link to sign up for our podcast. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, DMR. DMR station QRM's AO-92 uplink. On August 27th, AMSAT Vice President Operations Drew Glasbrenner, KO4MA, noted, recently there's been a DMR signal QRMing the AO-92 uplink on 435.350 or close by. Hotspots, repeaters, terrestrial simplex, anything not satellite should not be in the 145.8, 146.0 or 435 to 438 by international band plan. Please QSI these radios as soon as possible. Please share to DMR, D-Star Fusion, P25 groups and similar. Worldwide special interest groups, Final Frontier. Interns create visualization of NASA spaceground communications. For the first time ever, we humans worldwide can get an inside look into what it takes to enable communications for nearly 40 NASA missions thanks to a small team of college students. NASA's Near Earth Network, NEN, leverages more than 15 antennas across the globe to provide a downlink for critical space and Earth science data collected by the agency's satellites. A new web-based app called NEN Now shows in real time simulations of the complicated maneuvers these antennas undergo to link with passing satellites, following them from horizon to horizon as the data streams to the ground. Ryan Turner, a ground system manager, had an idea to efficiently and effectively develop the NEN app at Goddard by leveraging the skills of college students and utilising experienced engineers to provide guidance. He said, we started with 3 interns who worked with the public engagement team, NEN engineers and the GMSEC to lay out a prototype. GMSEC is the Goddard Mission Services Evolution Centre, which creates data system solutions across multiple projects and disciplines. He said it gave everyone a sense of what would be possible if we created an operational version of the system. Nate Fields was one of the first interns on the project in summer 2015. Our biggest challenge for the prototype phase was to figure out how to get the data from the real-time status server at NASA's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia to Goddard and into our app, she said. She and her partners, Kira Harrison and Wallace Phillips, used a number of networking and security techniques to make it happen. NEN Now and another app, DSN Now, have been incorporated into an even larger app called Scan Now. NEN Now is now available to the public at the link in this week's text editions of WIA National News, best read on wia.org.au. Worldwide special interest groups, IOTA. The IOTA Tour. Operators XYL, Bidgie, DE3BWR and Helmet, Heli, DD0VR will activate a bunch of Greek islands in September. We will have to listen up here in VK as this is a QRP backpack operation with 10 watts SSB and 5 watts CW with various wires and vertical antennas. QSL via DD0VR direct or by the Bureau. September 1st to 10th, Crete, EU 015, islands all with the IOTA designator EU 067 are September 10th to 14th, Santorin, September 14th to 17th, Ios, 17th to 21st, Naxos, and 21st to 25th, Paros, and September 25th to 30th, Mykonos. Worldwide special interest groups, Radio Amateur Young Timers. Radio Sport hits teens wavelength. The New Zealand Herald reports high school student Xenia Berger, ZL4YL, had a contact with King Juan Carlos I of Spain. To know and understand Hastings teenager Xenia Berger and her band of people requires others to tap into a wavelength, so to speak. Oh, and Xenia impresses. It pays to have a license to do that. The Year 12 pupil should know because engaging in the art of radio sport got her in contact with King Juan Carlos I of Spain in April. The now 80-year-old monarch goes by the credentials of EA0JC. He reigned from 1975 until his abdication in 2014, when his son, Philippe, ascended to the throne. Royalty aside, the teenager immensely enjoys the excitement that comes with establishing a lucky dip type of contact with someone unsuspecting in a random part of the world without the use of internet. Special interest groups stamp collecting amateurs. Hams competing in the Amateur Radio Direction Finding World Championships in Korea had something to write home about, and they have a special postage stamp they can use to send their message home from Korea. A report by the Korea Stamp Society shows the commemorative postage stamp being issued by the Korea Post to mark the 19th global event, which concluded on Saturday. The stamps have been printed as a sheet of 16, with each stamp carrying a value of 330 South Korean won, or about 41 cents in Australian currency. It shows two competitors engaged in the contest's activities, which include the search for hidden transmitters or fox hunting. This year's event was hosted by the Korean Amateur Radio League. At least 30 nations, including the WIA VK team, were represented in the challenge, which takes place every 2 years. This has been Bruce, VK2WI.
Alrighty, that takes us to the end of WIA National News for another week. Quick look at October. In fact, September 28th through till October the 1st in VK4 is the Cardwell Gathering. October 14 in VK3, the Yarra Valley Amateur Radio Group's Hamfest. And October 28 in VK3, the Ballarat Amateur Radio Group's Hamfest. Till next we meet, I'm Graham, VK4BB. Keep those cards and letters rolling in. Walk softly.
Thanks to Graham and the National WIA News team, this is VK2WI News live from our facility at URL in Sydney. I'm your announcer this morning, David, VK2HAI, and in engineering is Eric, VK2VE. There's no visitors here in the club today. The weather is fine with about 20 degrees Celsius. Rainfall at VK2WI site over the last week was 60 millimeters, and our transmitter status is all okay. It is with regret that we begin this week with the news of a silent king. Norm Patridge, VK2TOP, passed away on Monday, the 3rd of September at the age of 66. Norm obtained his amateur radio license in the early 1980s while working for Telecom, where he continued to work until the late 1990s. Later, he undertook a career change into aged care, but maintained a keen interest in amateur radio. From early 2000s, Norm was on the council of the WIA New South Wales division, which later became Amateur Radio New South Wales, for about 10 years, including a few years as president. More recently, Norm continued to volunteer for ARNSW, as well as being a member of the Central Coast Amateur Radio Club, the secretary of Walcha Radio Group. Here, Norm was instrumental in the establishment of a number of linked repeaters in the North, West and New England area. A service will be held for Norm on Monday the 10th of September at 10 a.m. at St. Andrew's Anglican Church, Walcha. By request, no flowers, donations in lieu of care flights. Please pause with us while we remember Norm. Valet Norm Patridge, VK2TOP. Our thanks to Rick, VK2RR, and Brian, VK2DK, for advising VK2WI News.
This is VK2WI and relay stations pausing for network identification. Would manual relay stations please identify? Thank you, relay stations. 2010 marked 100 years of organised amateur radio activity in Australia. It was in March 1910 that a meeting held in Sydney evolved into the WIA, the world's oldest national amateur radio society. This is VK2WI on a range of frequencies and VKE 580 on 5425 kHz. Now back to the news.
In the news from Amateur Radio New South Wales for this week, the AR-NSW education team is in need for assessors for the Foundation and Upgrade Assessment Day next Sunday, the 16th of September. If you are an assessor and can help out, please contact Paul, VK2APA, by email to education@arnsw.org.au. Later in the month, the OSVEG group is running U.S. Amateur License Examination on Saturday, the 22nd of September at Waitara. More information is on the group's website, veexams.com. The weekly solar and geophysical report. For the period of the 31st of August and to the 6th of September, first the summary. The dates across the columns are 31st, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. 10 centimeter flux, 68, 68, 68, 68, 68, 68. The Friedrichsberg Index, 2, 5, 5, 4, 9, 9, and 6 estimated. The Australian Index, 3, 2, 2, 3, 6, 8, and 3 estimated. The T Index is 0, 4, 6, 3, 7, 7, 7, 1. Solar flare activity was very low all week. Geomagnetic activity was at quiet levels from the 31st of August until the 3rd of September. Unsettled conditions were observed on the 4th and the 5th before returning to quiet level on the 6th. The F2 critical frequency in the southern Australian region were depressed 15% during local daytime on the 31st of August, recovering to near predicted at night. Frequencies remained mostly near predicted for the 1st and 2nd. The 3rd was near predicted during the day, with enhancement of 20% during the local night. The 4th returned to predicted levels during the day, but again improved to 15% enhancement at night. The 5th was enhancement of 20% after local dawn, near predicted levels during day, but again 20% enhanced at night. And the 6th also at predicted levels during the day with 20% enhancement at night. Now the forecast for the 7th to the 13th of September. Solar activity is expected to be very low. Geomagnetic activity is expected to be quiet to active levels. Maximum usable frequency should mostly be near predicted monthly values. The data is courtesy of the Space Weather Services. Solar Flux Index Update. Here are the updated Solar Flux Index figures for this week. Looking back at August, the figures for the month were a minimum of 67, average of 69, and a maximum of 72, with peak dates between the 2nd and the 11th, and the 21st to the 30th. At the beginning of September, the prediction so far is a minimum of 67, average 69, maximum 75, with peak dates between the 16th and 23rd. And looking ahead to the prediction for October, we expect minimum 68, average 71, maximum 75, with peak dates between the 11th and the 20th. The update with thanks to Noel, VK2FUL. The Space Weather Summary for June 2018. The data is complied courtesy of the Space Weather Services. Solar activity was at very low levels again this month, with no M-class or X-class flares observed. Most activity observed was in the form of solar coronal holes, though there was also an eruption solar filament and associated coronal mass ejection on the 20th of August. The eruption of the solar filament appears to have induced some geomagnetic disturbance. The 26th of August saw severe storm conditions with a local A index of 48. Later that day, further disturbances were most likely due to coronal hole activity, induced some high-speed solar wind streams which extended geomagnetic disturbances at active levels into the 27th of August. Generally, low ionospheric maximum usable frequency were observed this month in association with lower solar flux levels. While no significant region-wide ionospheric depressions were observed, Southern Australia region, MUF, were mildly to moderately depressed at times. The largest depressions in the region were observed on the 21st and 28th of August, with MUF of 20% below norm predicted monthly values. Question time. What's all about solar flux? Also called the 10 centimeter flux. It's something we talk about every week here on VK2WI News, with both the observed value from the past week and the predicted for the next 3 months. But what is it all about? Historically, it was found that a useful indication of the sun's activity would be gleaned by observation of sunspots, literally by photographic or direct observation of the solar disk. Counting the darker looking spots or regions, this is numerous and potentially error-prone process. But there is a great deal of historic data for the particular measurement. As we learn more about the sun, we found that sunspots are localized cool spots caused by disturbance in the sun magnetic field that led the way to measuring solar activity by electromagnetic means, which is where the 10 centimeter flux comes from. The 10 centimeter flux is the radio frequency energy emitted by the sun at a wavelength of 10.7 centimeters. That is a frequency of 2800 megahertz. Measuring the strength of this signal from the sun is a good indicator for solar activity, and with an appropriate measuring receiver, it is probably less time-consuming than counting the spots. It's even possible to measure it on a cloudy day, so most applications today use 10 centimeters in place of the sunspot number as a measure of sunspot activity. The reference value for 10 centimeter flux are measured by the radio observation in Canada. Unlike the sunspot number, the 10 centimeter flux never drops to zero. Even during solar minimum, there is a constant and well-defined relationship between the 10 centimeter flux and the sunspot number. When no sunspots are visible on the solar disk, the 10 centimeter flux will still have a value of around 67. The unit of measure is a special unit called the solar flux unit. For the definition of the solar flux unit, how they compare with sunspot units, and a whole lot more data about space weather and solar measurement, visit the Space Weather Service website. It is at www.sws.von.gov.au. And now for some wise and good news. The Great North Walk from Terralba to Patagon Wharf concludes today. Next, the Wyson calendar is the Brighton Farex, or search and rescue exercise, on the 14th to the 16th, built around the search for the missing Cessna 210M. VH and DX. The Oslo Classic is running event centered around black health on the 22nd and 23rd. In October the 27th and 28th, the Hawkesbury Canoe Classic and the Weissman's Dash. These events raise funds for Arrow Bone Marrow Transplant Foundation. October 14th is a volunteer Memorial Day. The Weissen website is at nsw.wicen.org.au and includes a web contact form. Facebook users will find an official Weissman New South Wales page and an informal national Weissen group. Weissen Northern Rivers holds a weekly net on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. local time on the Lismore repeater VK2RSC on 146.8 MHz, requiring a 123 Hz tone. Listen for VK2WIR. Their next meeting is Sunday, the 14th of October at 10 a.m. Weissen Mid-North Coast region meets at 3:30 on the first Saturday of the month at SCS headquarters, Central Road, Port Macquarie. The region is also running an HFNet on Thursday evening from 7 p.m. on the Maddens Plains 80 meters Weissen frequency of 3.6 MHz. Weissen ACT is part of Canberra Region Amateur Radio Club, supporting events in the ACT and Capital Country. And on the south coast of New South Wales, the AC Terra Brookwell Horse Endurance Ride is on September 29th and 30th on the northwest border of the territory. October has the ANU Inward Bound Adventure Race on the 5th and the 6th. Then both FITS Challenges and the Whitewood Carriage Driving event on the 28th. See the Weissen and events pages on www.carc.ampr.org. Weissen Victoria has a net at 3.6 MHz each Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. local time. Coming events include the field weekend at Lauriston Scout Camp in the Macedon Ranges on the 5th to the 7th of October and Stockman's Rally at Big River on Sunday the 28th. For details, visit the website at vic.wicen.org.au. Submitted by Julian, VK2YJS, on behalf of Weissen New South Wales State Management Committee.
This is VK2WI and relay stations pausing for network identification. Would manual relay stations please identify? Thank you, relay stations. For written contact with Amateur Radio New South Wales, you can email office@arnsw.org.au or mail to PO Box 6044, Dural Delivery Centre, New South Wales 2158. This is VK2WI on a range of frequencies and VKE 580 on 5425 kHz. Now back to the news.
Club news. We start this week with news from the Hunter Radio Group. The next meeting for the group is coming up on Friday the 14th of September. Location is as usual the Belmore Function Room at Adamstone Bowling Club, and the meeting starts at 7:30 p.m. Parking is available at the side of the bowling club. Rodney, VK2CN, Secretary of the Hunter Radio Group. Central Coast Amateur Radio Club. The club regrets the passing of long-term member Norm VK2WI last Monday. Also, a member of the Vulture Club, he was heavily involved with the Northwest Repeater linking project, and he will be sadly missed by both clubs. The Shahanza horse endurance is now well and truly over, and the summary will appear next week. In the meantime, we would like to thank the club members who froze their monkeys off while taking part. Also, several club members are participating in communications for the Great North Walk this weekend. So, as this goes to air, they will either be shivering or recovering. Have you ever wondered how the GPS works? At this month's lecture on Saturday the 15th of September, you can learn more about the GPS system with the presentation by Dave, VK2KFU. Don't worry, as it will not get too technical, so a full house is expected. For those looking to obtain or to upgrade their license, a foundation training and assessment day has been set to the 22nd of September. Please confirm your attendance as soon as possible with Karen, VK2AKB. All meetings of the Central Coast Amateur Radio Club are held at the club room in Dandlo Street, Karyong, just past the fire station at 1 p.m. Preceded by the obligatory sausage sizzle starting at noon. The club rooms are accessible by bus with a bus stop just opposite of Dandlo Street, serviced by the Route 34 bus from Gosford Railway Station every hour. The club rooms are usually open from 10:30 every Saturday for general chit-chat and access to the workshop and library. The club relays VK2WI news broadcasts every Sunday morning and evening. Callbacks are taken after the morning news only. On the Somersby 6-meter and 2-meter repeaters, VK2RAG on 53.725 and 146.725 MHz, respectively. Please note that both repeaters require a sub-audible tone of 91.5 Hz. The club also runs a mixed-mode repeater, VK2RAG, on 439.950 MHz, which is connected to the P25 network, and 91.5 Hz tone is required for analog access and is highly recommended for receiving unless you like hearing random noise. There is a net held every Thursday on the 2-meter repeater VK2RAG on 146.725 MHz starting at 8 p.m. and all members are encouraged to join, especially if club news for the ARNSW broadcast is involved. The club also has a Facebook page. Just look for Central Coast ARC and a Twitter account at AR Club, pronounced. More information about Central Coast Amateur Radio Club can be found on the website at ccarc.org.au. That was from Dave, VK2KFU, Publicity Officer for the Central Coast Amateur Radio Club. Oxley Region Amateur Radio Club. The next meeting of the club is the Friday night gathering at 7 p.m. on Friday the 21st of September at the SES building at Port Macquarie. Candidates for Foundation, Standard and Advanced License can contact the club via PO Box 712 Port Macquarie, New South Wales 2444. Training courses and assessments for the advanced, standard and foundation licenses run once sufficient candidates have registered their interest. The club conducts 2 nets each week, with midweek net starts at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday night, and the weekend net takes place at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. Both nets are on the VK2RMP 2-meter repeater at 146.7 MHz. This repeater requires a 91.5 Hz sub-audible tone for access. Visitors are always made very welcome at the club's monthly general meeting at 2 p.m. on the first Saturday each month, and the Friday night gathering at 7 p.m. on the evening of the third Friday for each month. The venue for all of these meetings is the SES building in Port Macquarie. For more information about the club, visit the website orarc.org. This site contains a wealth of amateur radio items in addition to club information. The July 2018 issue of the club's bi-monthly newsletter, The Oxtails, is now available to read on the website, and past issues can be viewed there also. The September 2018 issue of The Oxtail is in preparation and will be published later this coming week. Submitted by Henry, VK2ZHE, for the Oxley Region Amateur Radio Club. Hornsby and District Amateur Radio Club. The next head-out meeting is the informal mid-monthly meeting on Tuesday, the 11th of September, starting at 8 p.m. The meeting is at the Mount Colah Community Center in Deer Close, Mount Colah, on the eastern side of railway station. The Google Plus code for this site is 84H8+64 Mount Colah, New South Wales. It is now less than 2 weeks until the big day. Saturday the 22nd of September is the centenary of the Marconi Fisk Message Operation of Special Event Station VK2WI Marconi will be at St. Andrew's Anglican Church from 11 a.m. with formalities at the moment at 1 Stewart Street from 1 p.m. The site is a short walk northeast of Wollonga Station, with rail services in the region apparently running normally. The club runs 3 nets each week. For more information on these and other club activities, the website is at www.hadarc.org.au. The club has a group on Facebook, which can be found by searching for VK2MA, and on Twitter at VK2MA. Submitted by Julian, VK2YJS, Head-Out Publicity Officer.
This is VK2WI and relay stations pausing for network identification. Would manual relay stations please identify? Thank you, relay stations. If you missed anything in this morning's bulletin, tune in tonight at 19:30 to the expanded VK2WI news service on all VK2WI frequencies and automated repeater relays. This is VK2WI on a range of frequencies and VKE 580 on 5425 kHz. We now return to the final segment of this morning's news.
Summary of coming events. September, we have Head-Out mid-month meeting on the 11th, Barrington Sarex a Wyson event from the 14th to the 16th, Hunter Radio Group meeting on the 14th, CC-ARC lecture on GPS on the 15th, ARNSW Foundation and Assessment Weekend, 15th and 16th, Worley ARS Foundation Weekly on the 15th and 16th, Oxley Region ARC Gathering on the 21st, centenary of the first direct message from the UK to Australia via radio on the 22nd, Central Coast ARC Foundation Training and Assessment Day on the 22nd, Canberra Region ARC Foundation Weekend and Assessment on the 22nd and 23rd, ARNSW Trash and Treasure and Radio Experimentals Group Meeting on the 30th. October, St. George ARS Gathering on the 3rd, Jota and Joti on the 20th and 21st, Hawkesbury Canoe Race, a Weissman event on the 27th and 28th. In November, St. George ARS Gathering on the 1st, MWRS Training and Licensing Day on the 10th, St. George Foundation and Assessment Weekend on the 17th and 18th, ARNSW Trash and Treasure and Radio Experimental Group Meeting on the 25th. Submitting news items. To submit news for inclusion in our news bulletin, please email to news@arnsw.org.au by Friday the night preceding the broadcast. Audio items can be accepted, but please email in advance to make arrangements. Broadcast roster. On tonight's news bulletin, the announcer will be Ken, VK2BBQ, with Matthew, VK2YAP as engineer. Next Sunday morning, the announcer will be Andrew, VK2XAG, and with Peter, VK2HC as engineer. That concludes our news for this morning. Our announcer has been David, VK2HAI, and your engineer has been Eric, VK2VE. Callbacks will be taken shortly. Please call back to the relay station that provided a broadcast to you. On Mount Bindo, repeater VK2RDX, callbacks will be taken shortly, and the numbers relate to VK2WI. Here at VK2WI, we will listen for callbacks for those who took the broadcast direct. From the announcer booth, I will start at 20 meters, then 80, 30, and 40 meters. In engineering, Eric will be taking callbacks on 160 meters and the VHF and UHF frequency. He will advise the order. All the best from the broadcast team here at VK2WI. Have a great week and thank you for listening.